Would you like to support Cubs Out Loud? One way is to join us over on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, patrons get early access to our shows, the pre and post show, and various other rewards. You can learn more at patreon.com/cubsoutloud. Thanks to all of our patrons for their support in making this podcast.
Who's your bear? That's right. I am your bear.
I'm Damon.
I don't brew the tea, I just serve it.
And that makes me Gary.
Everyone else is thinking it, and I just say it.
Hey, you even caught it. Good timing. Look at you.
So yeah, happy anniversary? Question mark.
I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't. It's not an anniversary. I necessarily want to celebrate, but
I mean, you know, it's one of those things. for most folks here in the U.S., the global pandemic started about this time 5 years ago. The World Health Organization declared COVID-19 the start of the pandemic, technically on March 11th. So yeah, it's been 60 months. How y'all doing? I remember during that year that people were like vlogging and doing like this daily stuff because everybody was at home.
Yeah.
Nobody was going anywhere doing anything. So people were like there's a YouTube channel that I was following that was putting up daily videos, and they did it for about almost 3 months. And then they just kind of stopped.
I mean, it makes sense. It was a weird time. And I'm, thanks Facebook memories and Google memories and showing pictures and such. And I'm like remembering, oh yeah, that was a thing. And just, I forget, even people were posting about it on their Facebooks about like how, 5 years ago, this was only supposed to be a 2-week shutdown. It was only supposed to be this and that, and it wasn't supposed to be this big a deal, and all the things that we now know. And it's just so weird to think about. It's we're now living in the endemic, if I'm remembering, is that the word? Sort of stage of it where it's just going to be there. And that wasn't a flicker in the mind of people 5 years ago. So that's very interesting. Right.
Yeah, so basically, the administration on the 13th declared the nationwide emergency, and then shutdown started in multiple states on the 15th.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit, literally almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. So the reason I brought this up was this very weekend, or was it last weekend? I can't tell. Timey-wimey. Was TBRU.
Mm-hmm. It's this weekend.
Yes. So I saw lots of people posting pictures, making content, that kind of stuff. And it got me thinking about the landscape and how it's changed in 5 years because of the pandemic.
Mm.
Because I have a couple of questions, but I mean, I think there will be some agreement. Like the first one is, have things changed for gay culture? You know, be it, the alphabet culture at large. And I think, yes, like I think the collective gathering is less. I think people don't do as much as they used to together. I don't think we congregate as much. I think we really kind of save up for bigger things. So like pride
Fair.
still exists, but that's like the one thing that we definitely do.
Yeah.
I don't think there are as many events.
Yeah. I can see that. I agree with that. And I think a lot of that is the result of, say, the pandemic and things shutting down, and many, events were relying on that consistent source of income from having something annually
Mm-hmm.
that made things sort of, when you couldn't have it for a year, 2 years, depending on when you did it, maybe even three, it became a loss, and there was no really pulling it back. There were, you know, we've been talking about it on the work side of things. People moved across country. People moved to different places, and those, like, say the person who moved was like the president of the organization that was keeping things together. And if they've moved somewhere else and are no longer active because of the pandemic, then that means the organization is going to happen. The darker side of it is we lost a lot of people because of the pandemic.
Right.
You know, one of the organizations I belong to, we haven't done anything since the pandemic, but we haven't announced that we're gone. But the main reason we haven't done anything is a lot of the things that we were doing were because we were going to be in bars and we were doing educational things and we were front facing and doing things in public places with people. And when the pandemic hit, that couldn't happen. So we sort of went away for a while, and then our board's president's husband, who was also the road captain, passed away and there was just no energy anymore in the organization to keep it going. We haven't officially closed down, but we pretty much shuttered our doors, virtually, but we just have not said anything. We've not announced it.
Right.
And I think that's part of a lot of what happened. The pandemic changed people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It also changed people's, what's the word? What they're willing to give their money to or put their money into.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of things came out of that. To your earlier point, approximately 10% of the U.S. confirmed cases of COVID did not make it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 10% doesn't sound like a lot. You just have to look around and count 10 people and then say which one's not here.
Yeah.
To make it real. To think of it that way. So there's that aspect of things. And then to your point about like, this last part about, spending, like the world economy changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was saying right as it was happening, I'm like, we won't know for years what the effects were on the economy, on like all sorts of different structural pieces that we have. And I think we're still seeing that effect today. And I think a lot of people got shook up in their personal lives in terms of like what they can and cannot do, how they make their decisions. To your point, Damien, like a lot of people moved. I mean, most people worked remote if they worked, and that opened up new opportunities and changed things. And so there was a huge shift in that area. There was also a lot of like, we went through what in 21 to 22, we went through a lot of like, I'm not going back to work for that.
Mm-hmm.
So like the economy, like compensation scale changed. A lot of people were like, no, I'm not going to go back and work 3, 4 jobs just to have a roof over my head. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It-
I think those are all factors that have played into where we are today. And so to your point, like, yeah, like a lot of events kind of didn't make it.
Yeah.
Um, people's priorities changed, the landscape changed,
Right.
and folks getting together, like being comfortable with being together,
Mm-hmm.
personal safety changed.
Yeah.
Talking about TBRU, I mean, it got shut down with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So like someone posted online, I saw this. I felt like it had to be said. They were like, I wonder if any measles cases will come out of TBRU
Mm-hmm. Where's
because
my
there's an
flashlight?
outbreak in Texas, and you know
It's a
nobody
possibility.
nobody really knows anymore whether or not we all agree to the social contract of like doing good as a society.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that came out of it is that people question that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
I
that's
think,
had an impact on like us, in terms of, my question was about the, post-pandemic gay culture. I feel like that's also affected a lot of things, like whether or not
yeah.
people feel that they want to do events and be supportive and um
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the change has been due to priority shifting and understanding that people have really shown their true colors in a way. Like you mentioning the measles thing, I was just like, oh shit, that is a thing. That is a possibility. You know, um, whether it be from say someone who was in attendance or someone who was brought in or came in from the state, and it's a very potentially, I don't want to say reckless, but it's a potentially changing perspective of who we trust anymore in a way. Um, I'm going backwards in time, and I'm remembering going to my first. I think I went to I went to World Bear in 2021, and it was the first week. I think first big event I had gone to, and it was in Tennessee, and literally the day after everything started beginning, the cities put like they didn't shut anything down, but they put a lot of the mandates back in place because um, cases were spiking. So um, everyone had to be masked, and unless you're outside, and all of that stuff. And the run itself, World Bear made it kind of a thing to. They were requiring that you be vaccinated in order to attend. And they were checking, your vaccination cards and all of that stuff. And um, it was such a big deal. And I remember people getting upset because they didn't have their card or they forgotten it. And then if you're especially traveling out abroad from out of town or out of state, then you don't have just the immediate access to go get it. So it just became this whole ordeal. Um, and again, you're relying on people. We had to learn to rely on the trust of others, the capability of others to have some empathy
Mhm.
and get the things that they needed to actually attend the event. And in some ways, sometimes that trust was broken.
Well, I mean, I think trust was broken on many fronts, and we're still seeing that to this day. I think people, I don't know, like this is the thing I keep repeating over and over again is like we thought we knew people and we didn't.
Hmm.
We found out about our families, we found about our friends, we found out about our neighbors, we found out about our coworkers. Like there's just a lot that's been revealed over time. And I mean, look at what's happening in social media space. I don't know how well known I want to say they are or popular they are, but there is a adult entertainer that has been found to be conservative and openly owning that and posting it. And so
Hmm.
people are not doxing them, but publicly outing them in a way, like on social media apps and being like, if you support this person or jack off to this person, realize this is who they are. Um, and that I think that's not a I don't know if that really was a thing before, so I think that's like a new part of our culture, that we're calling out that stuff
Yeah.
and saying this isn't acceptable, or we're, I guess dividing ourselves further into the
Yeah.
camps that like are supportive and non-supportive.
Hmm.
So I think that was another new aspect that we didn't have before. And now we are looking at the world very differently. And so it makes me wonder what the future is going to hold, like in terms of, you know, culture and what that will look like. So I guess that kind of begs some of the questions, like one of them was like, are there improvements? Because I just realized we were kind of going on a diatribe for a bit. Like, do we think there are positive things that have come out of the past 5 years? Okay.
What do you mean?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I think that's valid. I do think that there have been some shifts and some changes
Hmm.
when it comes to that. I do think that it's been a struggle for people to like feel more connected. I I don't know how I feel about like people not traveling as far and then going to more local things because I guess I don't hear about the local things as much.
Right.
And that's where I think there's been a deficiency. My concern is that people are shifting to the bigger events because more people are going to the bigger events and they feel like those are the events they are guaranteed to meet other people
Right.
or to socialize. Um, I don't know. It's hard
It.
to say because there's something about it I think that is appealing that people are like, I want to be. Please forgive me. I want to be where the people are.
I knew it was coming.
And so, they want to feel that they're a part of something that like they're on the inside of that,
Yeah.
that trend or whatever. So, with all the thingamaboppers and the who's and what's it's. So, that's for all the Disney gays out there. The thing is that yeah, I don't know. Like it's a mix for me. I feel that
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of bifurcated things. Like there are small scale things that are taking place, but I think the medium stuff has fallen away,
Right.
and now it's just big things. Um,
Well,
in the number in like hundreds to thousands of people attending, as opposed to just like maybe 100.
yeah. And I think a lot of that is the twofold with regards to the pandemic as a result of the pandemic. And one, we kind of both mentioned it. Jeff mentioned things like energy, and I agree. Like some people chose to where they wanted to focus their energy on. They realized in the pandemic when they were alone in a ways that like maybe putting all of my eggs in trying to make this thing happen and constantly being disappointed, maybe I should stop. So I am. And then they don't do that anymore. So that ends up like this event that has been this small little event that has been going on for a while, it just fizzles out. I've seen it happen. Or that group that we were trying to get going just fizzles out because people don't want to take the time and energy to build it back up because it was, you know, the pandemic sort of killed it in a way. And then to your instance, I think it's also very similar to where the bigger things are where people would want to go because, as you said, there's going to be more people there. Unless again, you're not as social of a person, then that's going to probably not be what you want to do. Like for me, TBRU is out for many reasons, and that's one of them. Like it is such a big, big, big event that I know I don't feel I'm gonna enjoy myself. I had a similar feeling when I was at IML. Um, the events are so big that you get lost.
Right.
Um, and I hate to say it, kind of sort of was maybe a thing that happened with NAB this year for me. Um, but NAB's close in a way. Like I'll put it like that. It's technically a local event for me. It's 2-ish hours away.
Right. So let's talk about the awkward thing that's going on. There's a couple of awkward things that are going on, but one of them is how safe do people feel flying these days? Like, right? Like that's one of the things, like my own coworkers taking vacations, doing some stuff that they've planned
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand the sarcasm, the humor of some comments that are made, but it is discomforting to know that people are like, well, hopefully I make it safe.
And I know it sounds
Girl,
terrible,
like,
but
that's not a
the
thing
tea. Like
we would
that's
say.
the tea. Jim and I we're planning, I should say, to do a vacation which will take us to California. We're not, you're not getting there by car. I mean it. Like it's just not happening. It's a possibility, but it's going to be a much longer vacation than we were planning it out to be if we were driving there.
Schmendefair?
Whatever. Anyway,
What? You could take Amtrak.
that's great. It's
Does it have a
still
club car? Come on, anyways. Never mind.
it's still long. Anyway, that being said, um, but that thought has crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I have um, I'm going to Chicago in October. And I'll put it like this: my preferred um, um, airline was Southwest.
And they just made a huge announcement.
And they made a huge announcement changing a whole bunch of shit that didn't need changing, but the only reason it probably changed is because of money and greed. Just point blank period fact. Um, and that's a shorter trip.
Right.
And I'm just like, man, am I genuinely? I am a little worried, but I also know staying closer to home, Jim and I are going to Tennessee for our anniversary this year.
Mhm.
We can make the drive, and it'll be wonderful, and that'll be great, and that's what we're doing. Um, but the thought of flying is concerning. The thought of traveling to big events is concerning. People are doing it, and I'm seeing obviously there's not been any issues. Like there are a bunch of people that I know that went to TBRU, um, that flew and got there, and they're hopefully on their way home here soon. Um, but our lives have changed as we have become more socially conscious and more aware. And I feel like the pandemic did that. I feel like we know more about the issues that are affecting the others in our populations because of we spent a good amount of time glued to our phones and our TVs and our radios or whatever, trying to get updates on what was going on and learning and hearing more. And in some ways, people got a lot more vocal and a lot more active about the issues,
Right.
for positive or negative in a way. As you were talking about the one, porn star that got like is being called out. Yeah. Um, like, yeah, we're immediately seeing these people for and they're what they're saying and being like, no, we don't need you. You can go. And we're saying that to a lot of other people. We
Right.
Not that long ago, you had the issue with the IML judge that within hours of their announcement, find out, oh, he's got, you know, oh gosh, what's the word they use for instead of that one?
Nacho?
Yeah, like yeah, nacho, related things, and oh, Yahtzee, that's the one I use. I don't like using that one. That's just another brand, but nacho's better. Um, uh, and he got called out on it, and IML made a very quick decision and removed him as a judge, and then apologize and learn if they're making changes. And it brought to light, like, well, why was this a thing to begin with? How can we not? Why are we not vetting people better? Who was doing the vetting, if anyone else is doing the vetting in regards to this? And it's a matter of, if you think back, I doubt we would have had this much visibility and trying to find who are these people if we did not know or have a pulse on not having these people in our communities.
Right.
And I don't think we would have had that if it hadn't been for the pandemic. And I think that may be a positive in a way, but
Well, I mean, I hear you on that, Damon. I agree. I feel like I said this a lot, like probably in 21 and 22, maybe into 23. I was like, I felt like we lived in a weirdly blissful, ignorant pre-pandemic world where all of us were just happy-go-lucky and not really paying attention to things. And that really brought out a lot of different stuff. And we learned a lot about a lot of other folks. And so we've adjusted accordingly. I also think like one of the probably positive things that's come out of it is that our alphabet family is much more engaged and aware, and I think we take our health like a little bit more importantly, or think about that. So like we get, vaccinations, we, stay up on those type of things. So that way we know like we're not going to not only personally be negatively affected by that, but also, possibly affect others.
Right. Like I had I was just thinking about it. Like, yeah. Whew. I got on PrEP in 2019, right before I went to a big event, MAL for the first time. I did. I think I did. I had to check to be sure, but I'm pretty sure I got my monkeypox, the second monkeypox vaccine before I went to World Bear in Orlando. Like, and again, I wouldn't have necessarily known about these things if there hadn't been. Yes, there were essentially, there were, I don't want to say pandemic levels, but these were health risk and health issues that were being brought up because of these diseases being spread in our communities. And instead of, oh, it'll pass kind of mentality that we've probably had in the past, we started taking them seriously. And we all started making the choices on either getting a vaccine or staying away from events, because we learned from the pandemic, like, hey, being in close circles, fucking around with each other may be risky when there's a infectious disease going around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we have shifted our like social consciousness on a lot of things. I guess I'm still in a wait and see mode to understand what the end result is.
Right.
When it comes to that.
Yeah.
So that being said, like, do we have any predictions for the future? Based on where we were versus where we are now? Is it more of the same? Gonna get
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I felt that way during the pandemic. I mean, I remember we played online games.
Yeah.
Like everybody was sequestered in their home, and it's like, how do you stay connected? So you jump online and stream and play games that way. And this comes from somebody who didn't do that, like doesn't have a Twitch, doesn't, wasn't connected that way, wasn't doing, RPGs and stuff like that. No, that's why I clarified.
Yeah. I agree with Jeff. I think there is a new norm, as it were. I think there's a more socially conscious, socially aware LGBTQ community in a good and bad way. Good in that there are those of us who know that if you come for one of us, you're coming for all of us in a way, and we're willing to join the fight together as opposed to going, well, that's not me, so I won't. I'm not. I'll be fine. Um, and I think we've gotten past that, which is, I think, a really good thing. Um, on the flip of that, as I was kind of saying, there's a negative side to it. We've now seen that some people genuinely don't give a fuck and genuinely don't care and genuinely have these oddly conservative views that go against their own community. Um, but we're making it so they know, hey, like if you're a dick, we're going to call you out on it. If you are a Yahtzee, then we're going to call you out on it. Um, if you are um, a racist, we're we're going to stop patronizing you. We're going to stop paying for your OnlyFans or whatever. We're going to hit you where it hurts because we know that that's sometimes the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess people feel more empowered than ever
Yeah,
in where they decide to put their dollar. I guess is the best way to say it.
yeah. Like I think some for many, again, part of being the more socially aware, socially conscious of us is that we know not everyone's perfect. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to be perfect, but we've also learned that putting your money in the pocket of someone who is actively out to erase your existence, probably not a good thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I think there will be a lot more of that to come. Like people will
Hmm.
be more engaged in considering who and what and where and when they support things.
Yeah.
At least that's my feeling. Like when it comes to that.
My hope would be that people understand and have learned coming out of the pandemic that you don't have to blindly follow something. Like, just because the cute little gay boy that is getting you all the feels, um, is, that's who you feel like you need to be with. But if they're a problem for your community, maybe you should take a step. You don't have to necessarily go after them or go follow them. Um, to put it in a real perspective, um, just because an event is the largest event for our type in the world, um, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be there when they are or can be seen as someone or seen as an event that is not for all of your community.
Right.
You don't have to give your money to them. And sometimes fighting with the wallet and not giving the money is the best protest that you can get. We're learning a lot about it with like mhm, with Tesla and Target and things like that have started, stripping down DEI and all of that. We've learned like, oh hey, they're not our friends, so don't give them money. Bet.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot more of that to come.
Yeah. I think that people let me rephrase. My hope is that people are being more aware and conscious of the things going on around them and not just listening to one side of things, and they hopefully will understand that there is another perspective, another side to most things, and can in some ways be respectful or understanding, but don't let it be the only thing that you go by.
Right. I think that's fair.
Knowledge is power. I also had a yeah. I enjoy. I enjoyed playing. I will say I did. I have enjoyed. I remember like the game nights that we used to do, and like things that we would have, and I liked that because it was something that I think I needed, um, especially in the early days of pandemic. Um, Sitting at home not doing anything kind of sucks sometimes. Keeping your hands or keeping yourself busy is important.
Mm-hmm. To be continued, I think. We'll revisit in another 5 years.
Oh, oh boy, yeah. I mean, true. Got it. I mean, we'll see if we're all here. But that sounds negative. I meant, um, nope. I'm not going to take it. I don't think I need to take that away. I worry again. I will say I am worried about the world and us as U.S. citizens, and these next 4 years being a very interesting years. We've barely even gotten 100 days, and look at all the chaos around us.
Mm.
Um, so we'll see. Now I'm done, Jeff. There we go. I'm not muted anymore. That part. If you wish to get in touch with me, you can find me as TheaterCub79. That's TheaterCub on most related sites. You can find me as PupArmor79 on Blue Sky, or Pup_Arbor on the other one. Those are not safe for work. For safe for work stuff, you want to go to DMAGamer79 on TikTok, Blue Sky, and that other site. Gary.
If you want to get in touch with me, pretty much look for Gabriel73 online.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye-bye.